General Hospital spoilers reveal that Rory officially signing a 3-year contract with General Hospital is not merely a turning point in his personal career, but a clear and decisive statement about the long-term direction the creative team at Port Charles intends to take with the character of Michael, a role that had been synonymous with Chad for over a decade. After a prolonged absence and endless speculation about a potential return, Chad has now been permanently replaced. And the decision to lock Rory into a long-term deal has put an end to any lingering hope for a traditional reunion. This isn't just a routine recast. Replacing the face of one of the core members of the Corinthos family marks a total overhaul in the show's approach to revitalize its essence. Rory brings not just a fresh face, but an opportunity to reshape Michael from the ground up, his demeanor, emotional depth, and future psychological development. The youthfulness and cold intensity in Rory's acting, previously showcased in projects like Rebel Moon and Fugitive from Asteron, will lend a new, possibly edgier and more unpredictable tone, potentially leading to fierce clashes with central figures such as Sunny, Carly, or Willow. Chad's permanent exit means fans must now let go of the familiar, those emotional visuals ingrained over years of loyal viewing. But at the same time, it invites audiences into a new journey, where everything can be rewritten. Michael could become darker, more ruthless in political confrontations, or even spiral into the same shadows as his father once did. One of the most radical rumors ever floated, that GH would completely reset the character of Michael, has now become reality. This shift triggers a domino effect across the storyline. Previous arcs tied to Chad's Michael, his romance with Willow, his feud with Nina, power dynamics with Carly or Jason, must all now be rewritten, possibly in unprecedented directions. Rory is no longer just a new actor. He is a symbol of a new era, where the boundaries of morality, power, and family will be pushed to the edge, opening a completely new chapter in General Hospital's legacy. Signing Rory to a long-term contract at such a sensitive time proves GH isn't just filling a gap. They are doubling down on refreshing their brand. They are willing to trade the golden past for a future that is more dramatic, more dangerous, and utterly unpredictable. And that in itself is a warning. If someone as iconic as Chad can be replaced, then no character is truly untouchable in the wild world of Port Charles. General Hospital fans are in genuine shock as behind-the-scenes revelations emerge, with truths exploding not just on-screen but also off-set. While fans were still adjusting to the confirmation that Rory Gibson had signed a 3-year contract to replace Michael Corinthos, a character Chad Duell had portrayed for over a decade, a media store erupted when Chad unexpectedly broke his silence and publicly criticized GH. From there, things spiraled out of control. Chad's harsh statements spread like wildfire on social media, fueling the flames. He expressed deep disappointment in how GH's writing and production teams handled the Michael character and implied that he was pushed out of the show disrespectfully, without proper discussion or a worthy farewell after years of dedication. What shocked fans wasn't just the hidden truth, but the angry, unfiltered tone of Chad's words. To longtime viewers, this wasn't just disappointment, it was fury built up over time, a public denunciation of how a loyal actor could be discarded in the name of rebranding. This has escalated tensions between Chad and GH to unprecedented levels. Instead of staying silent, as is typical in the entertainment industry, where departing actors usually exit quietly to maintain appearances, Chad chose direct confrontation. This not only shattered the image of a smooth role transition but also raised serious questions about how General Hospital operates internally. Was Chad really removed without negotiation? Have there been long-standing conflicts that are only now surfacing? And if so, who should be held accountable? This has gone far beyond a simple recasting. The fanbase is divided. One faction, loyal to Chad, feels betrayed and calls for a boycott of Rory's version, accusing GH of abandoning the values and faces that once defined its soul. Meanwhile, another group, especially those open to change and excited for a new direction, supports Rory, believing reinvention is essential and criticizing Chad's reaction as unprofessional. Regardless of which opinion prevails, one thing is clear. The conflict between Chad Duell and General Hospital is no longer a private matter, it has become the epicenter of controversy across the soap opera world. Every comment, interview, and social media reaction from co-stars, from Laura Wright to Maurice Benard, is now under a microscope, as fans search for signs of allegiances. Some remain silent, others evade the topic, while a few drop cryptic social media posts, fueling even more speculation. This only intensifies fan curiosity and pushes the backstage crisis further than anyone could have imagined. It's no longer just about an actor being replaced. This has become a symbol of a trust crisis between fans and the very show they love. General Hospital, once known for its deft handling of media storms, now finds itself caught in a whirlwind of scrutiny, where every decision is questioned, every story has two sides, and every move could spark another wave of outrage. Meanwhile, Chad, though some accuse him of lacking restraint, is garnering empathy from many in the industry. They say he dared to voice what countless others whisper backstage, that in the world of soap operas, dedication, loyalty, and hard work are not always rewarded fairly. Thus, instead of fading out quietly, Chad Duell's departure has become a flashpoint, a symbol of resistance, a warning bell for rising discontent among fans. And the clearest sign yet that General Hospital is entering one of the most turbulent eras in its recent history. The official decision by General Hospital to cast Rory Gibson as the new Michael Corinthos, replacing Chad Duell, accompanied by the announcement of a 3-year contract, came across as a cold declaration that the entire legacy Chad had built over more than a decade would be wiped out without mercy. This wasn't merely a production choice, it was a deliberate overhaul. A decisive break from the past that left both insiders and viewers stunned. Fans weren't wrong in calling it a severance, as the character of Michael, once the heart of many pivotal storylines, was suddenly rewritten with a new face, a new actor, and an uncertain direction. The change didn't occur quietly. On the contrary, it sparked a wave of anger, regret, and resistance from Chad's loyal fan base, who had witnessed Michael's growth from a lost, rebellious teenager into a complex, emotionally layered man. Chad wasn't just playing Michael, he breathed life into him, transforming cliched plot points into deeply felt moments. From the trauma of losing AJ, his conflicted resentment towards Sonny, to the heartbreaking romance with Willow, Chad portrayed Michael as a son, a father, and a multifaceted man that audiences came to understand and empathize with over the years. Now, all those stories risk being erased, pushed aside as if they never happened. Chad's public criticism of the General Hospital team only escalated the already tense situation. He openly expressed his dissatisfaction at being replaced without a proper negotiation, refusing to accept that a decade of dedication could be discarded like a torn-out page. His frustration came through in sharp words, uncommon for a long-time actor in such an established role. That honesty thrust him into the center of an ongoing controversy, where not just the fate of Michael was questioned, but also fan loyalty, production leadership, and professional ethics in the entertainment industry. Caught in the middle of this storm is Rory Gibson, a handsome, promising actor, yet entirely new to the intricate world of Port Charles. He was thrust into a role that would place enormous pressure on any actor. Not only must he portray Michael convincingly, but he also has to win over an audience that had already invested years of emotional loyalty in another version of the character. Rory is walking a minefield, every episode, every line, every expression is compared to Chad's. Every writing decision is scrutinized. Was it really worth killing off the old Michael? What stands out, however, is that Rory isn't avoiding this pressure. In his rare public comments, he's shown respect for Chad while vowing to do his utmost to earn the audience's trust. Rory understands that acceptance won't come from perfection, but from sincerity and patience. He isn't trying to be Chad's Michael, but is carefully building a new version, possibly more hardened, conflicted, and unpredictable, a character more aligned with GH's current turbulent transition. Meanwhile, the impact of the recast continues to ripple through the fan base. Some have threatened to stop watching the show altogether, vowing never to accept Rory. Others argue that Chad acted unprofessionally by confronting the studio so openly, and that Rory deserves a chance to make the role his own. Caught between these factions are confused viewers, those feeling nostalgic, curious, heartbroken, and cautiously hopeful. What was meant to be a smooth handover has now become the epicenter of a soap opera earthquake. Exposing internal conflicts between legacy and reinvention, and testing the limits of loyalty in an ever-shifting industry. Chad's legacy may be erased on paper, but it cannot be erased from the hearts of fans. And that's what makes everything so chaotic, because this isn't just about a role anymore. It's about a battle for memory, emotion, and a trust built over a decade. The saga of Rory replacing Chad Duell as Michael Corinthos is becoming the focal point of an intensifying debate, far beyond the realm of a typical casting decision. As viewers, who had spent over a decade bonding with Chad's familiar face and acting, begin to voice open opposition to his replacement, the pressure on Rory has transcended professional boundaries. Becoming a deeply personal, almost haunting psychological burden no actor entering Port Charles could ever have been prepared for. From fierce reactions on social media, forums, to trending hashtags like #BringBackChad and #MichaelIsChad, a wave of loyal fans is turning their disappointment into a movement, refusing to accept any version of Michael that doesn't resemble Chad. This resistance is no longer isolated. It's woven into every detail of Rory's performance, how he walks, how he speaks to Willow, how his eyes linger on Wiley's face, all are dissected, analyzed, compared, and mostly rejected. This creates an impossible standard, where Rory isn't just expected to act well but to reconstruct a history he didn't write. And as he struggles to find his place, the ghost of Chad's absence grows heavier. Being cast in such a central role should have been an honor. But for Rory, it's become a brutal mental trial. He's not allowed to falter. No adjustment period. No chance to gradually win fans over. Every move, every line is labeled wrong, unlike Chad, or not the real Michael. Thus, Rory's journey is no longer a performance, it's a battle, where recognition comes not from talent, but from enduring the backlash of the very audience he's trying to serve. At the same time, General Hospital has taken a firm stance, offering no clear explanation for the recast, which has only made Rory more of a target. He is now the face of a decision he didn't make, yet must bear the burden of proving it was the right one. This leaves him isolated in the audience's eyes, and possibly among castmates who now face a dilemma. Support their new colleague and risk viewer backlash, or stay neutral and leave Rory alone in the storm. Adding to this domino effect, Rory's burden is no longer just about replacing an icon. It's about surviving impossible demands, constant comparisons to a deeply ingrained predecessor, and the internal struggle of questioning whether he even deserves a place in a world that never asked for him. The situation grows increasingly surreal. What should have been a simple recast has spiraled into a public clash between memory and change, loyalty and challenge. And Rory, at the center of the storm, now bears the paradoxical mission of erasing the past while winning over the very hearts that still call Chad's name in every scene he no longer appears in. This is no longer a role. It's a trial by fire. And whether he wanted it or not, Rory has become the face of a change he himself may never have truly chosen. General Hospital is quietly preparing for a bold and controversial twist as behind-the-scenes leaks suggest the show plans to bring back one of its most divisive and chaotic characters, Nelle Benson. What began as scattered rumors has now ignited every fan forum, all revolving around one possibility. Nelle is still alive and returning to Port Charles to reclaim what she believes is rightfully hers, legal custody of her biological son, Wiley. This wouldn't just be a shocking plot twist, it's a calculated move by the writing team to reignite one of the most psychologically, morally, and legally complex battles the show has ever staged. Nelle's return, if confirmed, won't merely be the resurrection of a dead character, it would reopen an old wound that never fully healed, especially for Michael and Willow. Both have spent years rebuilding their lives, believing Nelle was gone for good. Willow, who fought to become Wiley's legal mother and has loved him wholeheartedly, would now face her worst nightmare, a courtroom showdown against the woman labeled his birth mother, a woman who once used Wiley as a pawn in her twisted schemes, leaving deep emotional scars on everyone involved. Michael, torn between being a loyal Corinthos son and a fiercely protective father, will be pulled back into the darkest memories of his life. He saw firsthand how Nelle manipulated, lied, harmed, and then vanished under extreme circumstances. Her return won't just place him on the back foot legally, but emotionally, it will force him to relive all his past mistakes, compromises, and the ever-present fear that if he doesn't act quickly, he could lose Wiley again, this time for good. Nelle's reappearance also places Willow in a no-win situation. After all the emotional turmoil in her relationship with Michael, the fractures that nearly broke her, Wiley and Amelia are her last anchors. If Nelle holds any documents, medical, legal, or testimonial, questioning Willow's fitness as a mother, the court could reopen the custody case. And with everything hanging by a thread, even a hint of doubt could bring it all crashing down. What makes this scenario even more intense is Nelle's unpredictable nature. She's not coming back to make amends, to regret, or to reconnect with her lost child. She's returning like a storm, with one goal, revenge. In Nelle's eyes, Wiley isn't a child to be cherished, he's a key to restore her power, pride, and position. And if that means dragging Michael, Willow, Sunny, Carly, even Nina into a prolonged legal battle, she won't hesitate. Nelle has never been one to back down, and this time, she won't leave until she's taken back everything she believes was stolen from her. The domino effect of Nelle's return would ripple through the entire Port Charles community. Sunny, already facing trust issues with Nina and pressure from Jason, would again have to defend his son and grandson in a potentially months-long war. Carly, who sees Wiley as the last thread of family unity, would not sit idly by while Nelle tries to destroy everything she bled to protect. Nina, who once sided with Nelle, would be under a microscope, and any misstep would face extreme scrutiny. But most unsettling is that GH has yet to reveal how Nelle survived and returned. Is another force pulling the strings? A new villain? Or perhaps an unexpected ally from within the Corinthos circle? If Nelle isn't acting alone, Wiley's custody battle might only be the surface of a deeper, more dangerous plot to overthrow the fragile order in Port Charles. General Hospital is reigniting old flames, this time with more intensity, stronger motives, and wider consequences. Nelle's return may not just be a shocking twist, but the opening chapter of a prolonged period of instability, where family, ethics, and love are once again put to the test by power. And in this battle, no one can predict who will lose everything. Michael is now set to replace Sunny as the new boss of the Port Charles underworld. A dramatic shift that is not only a plot twist but also a bold creative strategy that is redefining the character's position and stature, and that of Rory Gibson himself. This is no longer a mere title change, but a power shift that could shake up the order that has existed for years in the world of General Hospital. Michael's elevation from a marginal heir who has repeatedly rejected his family's criminal ways to the forefront of ultimate power is a shock that is sending shockwaves through Port Charles, not just in the character's world, but also in the fanbase that watches every episode unfold. This is one of the new impositions that the production team is actively implementing, openly and drastically, to change the entire character ecosystem, and it is also the biggest test for Rory since he took over the role of Michael from Chad Duell. Now, Rory's role is no longer just a copy of the past, an inheritor of a role that has shaped the audience's mind, but a central character with power, ambition, and darkness, all the things that Michael previously tried to avoid. Making him the new boss of the organization is not only a move to elevate the character, but also a risky challenge. Can Rory be able to convince the audience that Michael, who was once a symbol of conscience and morality, can now sit in the chair of Sunny, who did not hesitate to shed blood to protect his family? This sudden change is causing new troubles, both in the content and behind the scenes. Michael, with Rory's new face, is gradually being reshaped not as a son who confronts his father, but as a potential rival who is directly replacing him. This creates inevitable conflicts between the two generations, between old and new ideas, between survival principles and moral beliefs. And as Rory begins to portray a version of Michael that is ambitious, cold, ready to command, ready to calculate, the audience is divided. One side is attracted to the image of a completely different More mature, more dangerous Michael, the other side feels betrayed by the transformation of a character they once loved for his humanity and integrity. The trouble lies not only in how the audience receives the change, but also in the heavy pressure placed on Rory. He is no longer the new guy allowed to experiment, but has officially become the leading face of one of the most powerful storylines on GH. Every scene, every directorial decision, every psychological shift in Michael's character now has to demonstrate depth, character, and believable transformation. Rory doesn't just have to play the boss. He has to become the boss, something audiences have come to associate with Sonny over the past 2 decades. He faces the enormous shadow of Maurice Benard, whose every glance or smirk carries a menacing weight and dominates the atmosphere of the frame. With Michael's rise to the top, General Hospital is entering a new era where the old order is completely turned upside down. Carly, Jason, Nina, Dex, all the characters who once revolved around Sonny's power will now have to find their place in a system run by Michael. The relationship between Michael and Willow, once built on love and protection, will now be tested by strength, power, and responsibility. Wiley and Amelia, the kids who have been kept out of the shadows, could now be targets, if only because their father is the new boss of the underworld. And so, from being the face of suspicion, Rory is now in a position of no return. He doesn't have time to prove himself good enough, he has to be irreplaceable. And while viewers continue to debate whether Rory is worthy, Port Charles is quietly rewriting history. Michael is no longer Sonny's second-in-command. He is Sonny, younger, sharper, and, if he succeeds, more dangerous than his predecessor. But if he fails, it will be a calamity that will take the entire order that GH risked its life to rebuild with it. This isn't just a story about a character changing. It's a test that will determine whether General Hospital can truly enter a new era, or collapse under the weight of the legacy it's trying to overcome.